that member doesn't believe those things, I would invite her to restrain her comments.
This Prime Minister's loyalties are to Brookfield. The Prime Minister.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable member for Regina Capel.
The Prime Minister's deal with Canadians was elect him and he would get us a win on tariffs. Since then, he's taken over 20 trips, which might be worth it if he actually came home with better deals, but he's not. After meeting with the US, tariffs are even higher than before. After meeting with China, we now have new tariffs on grain and seafood. India put new tariffs on peas after their meeting. He claimed to have some kind of special ability that would result in new trade deals, but it turns out he's not that special. He's just another Liberal. Will the Prime Minister admit that he's trailing on fade, or is making things worse part of some genius strategy?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, today our government took another step forward in our commitment to double non-U.S. trade over the next decade and diversify our economy. While in the UAE, the Prime Minister signed a foreign investment promotion and protection agreement to create a more predictable environment for two-way investments. And we launched negotiations for Canada-UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Trade Deal. This agreement would cut tariffs, remove trade barriers, and expand market access for Canadian exporters. With a signed FIPA and launch of CEPA, we are opening doors, creating new markets, and creating opportunities for Canadian workers and businesses, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Regina Capel.
That's such a typical Liberal, eh? Things are always just about to start getting better. Meanwhile, actual tariffs keep going up. Now, one way to increase trade with other countries would be with a pipeline to British Columbia's west coast. But the Liberals killed Northern Gateway in 2016, resulting in billions in lost opportunities for Canadian workers and businesses. Now there's talk of reviving that pipeline, but of course, if the shipping ban stays in place, no one will be able to actually export what comes through the pipe. The Liberals made it illegal to ship Canadian energy off Canada's west coast. Does that law also ban U.S. tankers from traveling through the same area?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has a tremendous opportunity to be a leading energy superpower. This government was elected to deliver nation-building projects, strengthen our economy, reinforce Canadian autonomy, advance Indigenous prosperity while contributing to clean growth. We are working with all the provinces, including Alberta, to achieve these shared objectives. The federal government has been engaged in constructive talks with the government of Alberta, and we will have more to say in a few weeks.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Again, after 10 years, we're just on the cusp of things all coming together, Mr. Speaker. But I can answer the question that the Minister didn't answer himself. The answer is no. While the Liberals have made it illegal for Canadian companies to load Canadian ships with Canadian oil, U.S. tankers can continue to travel off BC's coast and take their oil to countries around the world. As we speak, the U.S. crude oil tanker California is traveling from Tacoma to Alaska along that west coast. Why are the Liberals keeping in a law that prevents Canada from exporting our oil while U.S. tankers travel through the exact same place?
I know the honourable member across the aisle is not happy, but the Premier of Alberta has said she's quite supportive of what we're doing and is looking forward to finishing the conversations with the Prime Minister.
Yesterday, a shocking expose by Global News outlined how in 2016 the Liberals allowed a Syrian national named Omar al-Qassib, who is a financier of Hamas, to claim refugee status in Canada. On Tuesday, officials revealed that the Liberals have launched a one-touch program that allows refugee claimants to self-declare whether or not they are terrorists when entering Canada. How many Hamas operatives and other terrorists have the Liberals granted refugee status to in the last 10 years?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I would urge colleagues across the way to think twice about putting on the floor of the House of Commons unverified reports from anonymous sources, Mr. Speaker. Security is of paramount importance in this country. That is a sacrosanct principle. upheld by successive Conservative and Liberal governments. We maintain that principle from start to finish. As for the comments about the program that was talked about at Immigration Committee, the member knows better.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
For those listening at home, that translates to they don't know. Global News also reported that an astonishing 450 people with assorted roles in Hamas now have ties to Canada. Last week, the minister was unable to say how many non-citizen criminals and terrorists the Liberals have granted to in an official request. And now Global News is revealing that this terrorist financier has already passed the citizenship test and is awaiting a final decision. How many other terrorists are the Liberals in the process of granting citizenship to?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Continue to cite anonymous sources on the floor of the House of Commons, Mr. Speaker. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, the reality is that security remains always a fundamental responsibility that we take seriously. When security agencies become aware of potential threats to this country, they act accordingly, and we trust them to do that. As for the point that was raised before, relating to what was discussed this week at Immigration Committee, I say the member knows better because she knows very well that our security system is not upheld by an app, that checks, criminality checks, national security checks, all of these checks are carried out before anyone is allowed in this country, Mr. Speaker.
Calgary Midnapore.
In 2006, the Harper government saw the need for an independent parliamentary fiscal watchdog, and boy, were they right. In his budget brief last week, the PBO reminded the Prime Minister of the Liberals' own words just last November, that reducing the federal debt to GDP ratio over the medium term is key not only for fiscal sustainability, but also to preserve Canada's AAA credit rating. Well, less than a year later, and the alarm bells are ringing. How many more times does this Prime Minister need to be reminded to rein in his spending of taxpayers' dollars?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, earlier today in this chamber, the member for Calgary Midnapore said the Prime Minister's loyalty was not to Canada or to Canadians. That is incorrect. I would invite her to retract that statement at this very time.
Apologize.
The Honourable member for Calgary Midnapore.
The Prime Minister's costly credit card budget loads reckless spending today on tomorrow's taxpayers, something an economist should know. After
the Honourable member for Calgary Midnapore may continue, please. Continue.
This Prime Minister's loyalties are to Brookfield. The Prime Minister's costly credit card budget loads reckless spending today onto tomorrow's taxpayers, something an economist should know. After 10 years of these Liberals, Canadians are being forced to put nearly 50% more of their personal expenses on credit cards, a result of Liberal financial failures. Fitch Ratings has warned that because the Liberals are ignoring their own fiscal...
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think debate in this chamber is served by challenging a Prime Minister who has stood up for public service in Canada, challenging his patriotism or his service to his country. I know that member doesn't believe those things. I would invite her to restrain her comments with respect to the Prime Minister's feelings about the country and about the people that he serves, and I would once again invite her to retract those comments.
The Honourable Member for Regina Luban.
After 10 years of reckless spending by these Liberals, Canadians have forced to put 50% more of their expenses on credit cards since 2015. It's so bad that the budget watchdog has condemned the Liberal spending, saying, and I quote, "It's unsustainable and shocking." When will the Prime Minister finally put an end to his out-of-control spending spree so Canadians can put food on their table?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, on one side of the House, we have continued tired, old rhetoric. The same questions that question a Prime Minister with world world-class business and economic experience versus a leader from the Conservatives that has been in this House for 20 years, hasn't had a job outside of this House. On this side of the House, we're focused on building a strong economy. We're focused on making historic investments in infrastructure, defense, housing, transport. Mr. Speaker, on this side, we're serious about the economy. They continue with the same old tired rhetoric.
The honourable member for Regina Luban.
That minister should be tired of having a reckless record when it comes to CRA and fix the CRA before he fixes anything else.
That's right.
The agency that gives the government its credit score says that since the Liberal government frequently ignores their fiscal anchors, the federal finances run into a further risk of deteriorating. A simple question to the Prime Minister is, when will he take his job seriously and get Canada's finances back on track so that Canadians can afford a life?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, on April 28th, Canadians had a choice to make between two visions for the country. One was a vision of slogans and divisiveness. On this side, our Prime Minister, with world-class business and economic experience, had a plan to build our country, to invest in our country, to build our country by Canadians for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are serious about building a stronger Canada, a Canada for everyone. That side is not. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Well. A Prime Minister who describes himself as a European is giving $500 million to the European Space Agency to create good jobs in Europe. And it gets worse because the Harwell Science and Innovation Campus, where the European Space Agency will be is located in the UK, is 50% owned by Brookfield. Rather than focusing on lining the pockets of Brookfield and not ripping off Canadian workers, why don't they invest in Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that the other side doesn't recognize the key role that space investments play in our country and our national innovation, especially in a critical year for Space for Canada, where we're spending not one but two astronauts into space. This is an incredibly exciting time for Canada and Canadians to be inspired by the potential of space and space in our economy, and I hope the other side reconsiders their opposition to this.
For Dufferin-Caledon.
It's an incredibly exciting time if you're a shareholder in Brookfield right now, let me tell you, with all the slimy contracts that these guys are giving to companies affiliated with Brookfield. Meanwhile, we have 2.2 million Canadians lining up at food banks. Meanwhile, we have a 6.9% unemployment rate. And what do they decide to do? Invest $500 million to give jobs to Europe. How is the priority of this government to give jobs to Europeans when there's a 6.9% unemployment in Canada and 2.2 million people using a food bank? Justify that.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, when it comes to the most innovative things that we can do as a country, we often do them together and with other countries. So, for instance, a former member of this House, a former minister in this former government, the Honourable late Mark Carney, he went on an American spacecraft, and there was a key piece of Canadian technology that was deployed as part of that, the Canadarm, a piece of technology on which we should all be proud on both sides of this House. So as we continue to cooperate with our European partners on this, let's see the bigger picture and see how the benefits can come to Canada with this investment.
This Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians and drives up the cost of everything, especially food. The St. Thomas Elgin Food Bank is seeing record demand. 4 out of 5 Canadians say food is their top expense pressure, and the Liberals are standing by their industrial carbon tax, which makes it more expensive to grow, ship, and sell food. Not only are they not scrapping it, they're increasing it. Why is the Prime Minister making life more expensive for Canadians when they can't even get by as it is?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's a bit rich coming from Poilievre's biographer, but let's talk.
We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to do that. The honourable member knows. The honourable member's an experienced question has been on the Hill for a long time. She may continue, however.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about two of the main areas of costs for families. Let's talk about taxes and let's talk about housing. This budget cuts taxes for 22 million Canadians, bringing the basic tax rate down from 15 to 14%. This is a major tax cut. It's about $5 billion a year in tax relief for Canadians. 85% goes to the lowest income tax brackets alone. And then on housing, Mr. Speaker, we're making the biggest investment in housing in Canadian history. We are building up the supply of homes, bringing
The honourable member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the plug for my book. If the member read books instead of talking points, the country would be in a better place. Food prices have risen almost 40% faster in Canada than the United States. Beef up 17%, chicken 6.2%, and now the Liberals are adding a fuel tax that will make gas 17 cents a litre more expensive. Driving in my riding in rural Canada is not a luxury, it is a necessity. A tax on gas is a tax on life. When will the Liberals get real and make life more affordable?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I think it depends on the types of books that a member might want to read. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about books. Mr. Speaker, this week in this House, the Canadian Association, the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations has been on the Hill representing students from across the land. Here is what Abdul Abbasi, the chair of CASA and a student from the University of Alberta, had to say about this budget. Students are pleased to see that the government has met CASA's call for tens of thousands of student jobs in growing economic sectors. This budget is for them. So if the member opposite wants to talk about how education builds...
The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, all Canadians deserve to feel safe within their communities. We have critical legislation before this House that is getting stalled by conservative political antics. Will the Minister of Public Safety tell Canadians what our government is doing to combat extortion, strengthen enforcement, and protect Canadians across this country? Thank you.
Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the member for Brampton Centre for incredible hard work and advocacy. Our government is taking real action to stop those who commit extortion, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives, however, have failed to support measures like lawful access that law enforcement across Canada have been asking us to implement. They won't support Bill C-2. They won't support Bill C-12. They won't support C-14. They won't support hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel and 1,000 new CBSA officers. Canadians expect, Mr. Speaker, for their oppositions to work together with their government. Let's stop the rhetoric.
The honourable member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals are running government like a travelling circus. Take the F-35 procurement, for example. Justin Trudeau said he'd never buy the F-35s. Then the Liberals ordered the F-35s later. Now, this Prime Minister started another review. Then the Minister of National Defence said the review will be done by the end of last summer. But the Secretary of Defence Procurement says, wait, there's no rush. And meanwhile, nobody can figure out what the Ministry of Industry is actually doing. So, once and for all, when will this unnecessary review finally end? And who's actually in charge of buying fighter jets over there?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, as part of our generational investments in the Canadian Armed Forces, we are procuring a new fleet of fighter aircraft for the Royal Canadian Air Force. We review all procurement approaches responsibly to align with the best interests of Canadians and the needs of the CAF. We are committed to procuring what the Air Force needs while ensuring economic benefits for Canadians.
Honourable member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Defence Minister has said that he would take the lead from the Canadian Armed Forces and experts. Well, military experts could not be more clear. Buy the F-35s. His Chief of Defence Staff said it. His Commander of the Air Force has said it. His Deputy Minister has said it. And now over a dozen retired Air Force generals have said it. By dragging on this unnecessary review, these Liberals are undermining our national security and our reputation with our allies. Yes. When will the Defence Minister finally listen to the experts and buy all 88 F-35s that our pilots need to defend Canada?
The Honourable Minister.
Pour répéter, Monsieur le Président, nous procédons.
To repeat, Mr. Speaker, we will be purchasing new planes for the armed forces. We are carefully examining procurement so that it aligns with Canadian interests and the needs of the force. We will purchase what the Air Force needs whilst taking into account economic benefits for Canada. It's very simple, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hill North.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has said that the biggest threat to the security of Canada is Beijing's foreign interference. Parliament passed a law to create a registry to combat this interference a year and a half ago. The government said it would be up and running by year end. The government must consult with opposition leaders and introduce a motion to appoint a commissioner. There's only 3 weeks left before Christmas adjournment. When will the government consult opposition leaders and introduce a motion to appoint a commissioner?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for the very important question. I just want to assure him, as well as this House, that we'll be moving forward in short order to bring forward the name to the opposition and to have a motion before the House.
The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills North.
Mr. Speaker, last election, some candidates were vetoed for foreign interference and others were targeted. And CSIS Director Dan Rogers said just last week that China and Russia continue to target Canada. We've had one federal election without a registry, and we could have a second one at the speed that this government operates. So where is the sense and urgency in getting this registry up and running? Where are the speeds not seen in generations? Where are the consultations with opposition leaders? And where is the motion?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the men and women of CSIS in the work that they do each and every day to protect Canadians. I also want to once again assure my colleague opposite that we will be bringing forward a name in short order, and we will ensure that there's adequate consultation that comes before the House, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Mission Matsqui, Abbotsford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Extortion threats in British Columbia are up 481% since 2015. The Liberals voted against our Conservative plan a year ago that would have tackled this crisis with mandatory jail time and removing house arrest as an option for extortion with a firearm. Since their refusal to act, thousands of new extortion cases have exploded across Canada. What do the Liberals have to say to those businesses and victims of crime who have suffered due to their inaction?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, what we have to say to Canadians is that we have a bill in front of the House, Bill C2, that has very important provision called lawful access that will ensure that crimes such as extortion is dealt with in an efficient and speedy manner, Mr. Speaker. This is what law enforcement across Canada, from Abbotsford to every part of the country that I've visited over the last 6 months, have been asking for. It is a bill, it is a component of the bill that's so essential. However, the party opposite has continuously refused to bring forward and to accept lawful access as a very basic principle of Canadian criminal law.